Hey, how's it going? I'm Seth, and this is my mono black life gain and zombie tokens deck. So for my commander, I have Kalitas, Trader of Get, 4-drop for a 3/4 with lifelink, and he has, whenever he's out and a creature my opponents control would die, they're instead exiled, and I make a zombie off of it. And then also for 3 mana, I can sacrifice another zombie or vampire and put 2 counters on Kalitas. Great commander. I love him. I've actually had him for a while. He was in the list for I forget what pack, but he was in the list, and as soon as I got him, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this. And I spent like half a year thinking about it, and then when I finally made it, became a pretty good deck. I've just been kind of upgrading it throughout like the past year, basically, and it's turned out pretty well so far. So he's a kill on sight commander. As soon as I play him, a lot of people hate it because, you know, if I kill a creature or if a creature of theirs dies while he's out, then they're basically not guaranteed, they're guaranteed to not have that creature for the rest of the game. They can't get it back through conventional recursion means. So it shuts down pretty much every death trigger deck, just having Kalitas out. So my friend had an Teysa Karlov Orzhov deck that it completely shut down because that whole thing was doubling death triggers, and Kalitas just says no to that. And my other friend has a rat deck, mono black rats, and I just completely shut that down as well. So yeah, he's really great, except he's really hard to keep out unless I have the correct means to keep him out. So anyways, we'll start with the ramp section. So obviously Soul Ring, of course, staple in Commander. Bandit's Hall, not only is it a mana rock, but I also, whenever I commit a crime, I put a bandit counter on it, or a crime or loot counter on it, sorry, and then I can remove loot counters to draw as well, which I'm committing crimes a lot because most of this deck is just removal spells. Pitiless Plunderer, whenever another creature I control dies, I get a treasure, so mainly, I make those zombies, get the value out of it, get treasures. Crick, he's really good, just great ramp. I play him for, 4 mana and 6 life, and then since my commander and Crick have lifelink, I get that life pretty much instantly back, ideally. And then, yeah, he's just really great to have. And then Throne of Eldraine, I pulled from an Eldraine set booster, which, great card. I decided to put it in here because there's not a ton of ramp, especially in black. Like, there's no searching for lands. There's really only the mana rocks and mana dorks that you can get. So Throne of Eldraine's really good. It's just, I choose a color. Obviously, I'm choosing black. And then I can add 4 black mana only to cast mono black spells. So the, colorless spells I have in here, I can't do that, but pretty much I can do anything that I need to. And then I can also draw 2 cards off of it, which is really good. So that's it for the ramp. Next up, we've got the draw. So for the draw mainly, we've got Unholy Annex. It just gives me, on my end step, I draw a card, and if I control a demon, I gain 2 life and my opponents lose 2 life. If I don't control a demon, then I just lose 2 life. But again, with a lifelink, it doesn't matter a whole lot. I do have some demons in here. I did have this in my old Rafine deck, and since Rafine is a Sphinx demon, it worked really well because I basically guaranteed that I had a demon out, so I got the life gain no matter what. But in this one, it really depends on what my board state is, but usually the 2 life lost if I don't control a demon isn't a huge deal. And then with Ritual Chamber, if I really do need that life gain, then I can just pay 5 mana and get a 6/6 black demon with flying, so pretty good. Necrodominance, I skip my draw step. At the beginning of my end step, I may pay any amount of life and I draw that many cards, and then max hand size is 5. But if anything would be put into graveyard, instead it's put into exile, so it's kind of like my own Kalitas, like it's kind of a hindrance on me. It doesn't allow me to do recursion as much unless I already had built up a graveyard, but getting this out early game can kind of be a struggle. It really depends on how the game goes. Because if you get it out early game, it's really easy to wheel through your library or wheel through your hand and, tear through your deck as quick as possible and get all those removal spells and all the value that from the library that you need, but you can't guarantee that you'll get anything back. So it really depends on how the game is going. And then Ravenous Amulet, sack a creature, draw a card, and put a soul counter on it. Later you can destroy it or sacrifice it and deal damage to your opponents for the number of soul counters. Really good. I'm sacking creatures anyways, probably, off of the zombies, so just getting some draw out of that if I have some extra zombies I don't need is really great. Next up, we've got Protection. Not a whole lot, just Landing Greaves, making sure that Kalitas, can't be targeted by a whole lot. And then also Oblivion's Hunger gives target creature indestructible, and I draw a card. If it has a counter on it, which usually, hopefully, Kalitas will after I make some zombies. Next up, we've got some simple little removal here. This is just generic, basic removal spells. So Kalitas, the way he works is I only make a zombie if a non-token creature dies. So death triggers still happen for token creatures. So if you have a token death deck, then I can't really do much about that. However, just regular death triggers deck against, like, you know, non-token creatures, just creatures that you cast, he's really good against that. But Shielder's Edict allows me to, I think this is like an expensive card too. It's like $3 or $4 just for a 2-drop, but it's really good because I can make my opponents sacrifice specifically a non-token creature. So for 2 mana, making them sack something that will give me value guaranteed, really great. Hex allows me to destroy 6 target creatures. It can be a little tricky sometimes if somebody has hexproof or, you know, their own artifacts and protection against their stuff, but even then, just destroying 6 creatures is great, and I get 6 zombies out of it. Withering Torment, destroying a creature or an enchantment, and I lose 2 life, but for 3 mana, it's pretty great. It's really kind of sort of difficult to find removal besides creatures in black, at least in this deck. It really depends on what I have. Some of it's sacrifice, some of it's just destroy or whatever. And then Flare of Malice is really good. It forces my opponents to sacrifice the creature with the highest mana value, which, unless they have only tokens on the board, guarantees that they're going to sack a non-token creature, usually their most powerful thing on the board. So this is really, really great to have. It saved me from so many things, so many times, and I really enjoy having it. Just forcing my opponents to sacrifice usually their best thing on the board is huge for Kalitas. Next up, we've got some creature removal. So I guess creatures that have removal. So first one is Accursed Marauder, just for 2 mana, get a zombie out, and when he enters, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. Yet again, forcing them to do non-tokens, which guarantees me making zombies, is really good. Phyrexian Obliterator, 4-drop 5/5 with Trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. So if I play this guy and just have him out as a blocker, it really incentivizes people not to attack me. Because if they do attack me, I can just block with this guy, and for however much damage they do to him, they have to sacrifice that many permanents. So it's kind of like backwards Annihilator. It's like if I block with him, or if he were to take any damage of any kind at any time. So I can swing with him. I have swung with him before, but usually it's just better to keep him up as a blocker. Because if I swing with him, unless it's to an opponent that's like on the verge of death, they're usually not going to block it, and they'll just take 5, which, like, I'd rather they be sacrificing stuff than taking the damage. So he's usually greater as a blocker. Demon of Loathing for 7-drop 7/7 with Flying and Trample. When he deals damage to a player, they sacrifice a creature. Yeah, it's pretty alright. I had this in my Felix 5-Boots deck for a little bit, but then I had like way too many different triggers going on there, so I tried to cut it down and realized he was a pretty good fit for this deck, so I slapped him in here. Reaper from the Abyss, 6-drop 6/6 flying, and at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, which hopefully they do, either, you know, through my removal spells, or I can sacrifice through Kalitas or other means, then I get to destroy a non-demon creature. Really great unless I'm up against a demon deck, which I have never been up against a demon deck, so honestly, just great removal. Just gives me another extra kill spell at the end of my turn. Next up, we've got some tokens. So Corpse Weft is an enchantment that will allow me to exile cards from my graveyard and make twice that big of a zombie, or I make a zombie for twice the amount of cards that I exiled from my library. Yeah, just pretty good, especially for 2 mana. If I just have some spells that I'm not going to be able to get back, it's pretty good. It does specify creature cards though, so it really depends on like where in the game I am and what I do want to bring back maybe. Rise of the Deadmarn, I haven't been able to get this off yet, but it's a foretell card, so I can cast it early on, and then I can just kind of wait. But it allows me to make X 2/2 zombie berserker tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that die this turn. So usually, you know, you foretell this early game, you just have it face down for a while, and then when somebody board wipes, you will then cast it from, you know, for its foretell cost, and then at that point, you get a bunch of zombies. So, yeah, it really just depends on how the game goes. Wand of Orcus. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. really, really good, especially if I'm buffing Kalitas up and he just gets really huge. If I'm able to get that damage off, I get a bunch of zombies off of it, which is great. Also, whenever a equipped creature attacks, it and zombies I control gain Death Touch. So, really, really great card to have. Bastion of Remembrance. This is less for the token it creates and more for the value I get off of tokens dying. But yeah, just whenever a creature I control dies, my opponents lose a life and I gain a life. Just that little bit of extra life gain helps. Army of the Damned. I create 13 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and then I can later cast it from my graveyard, which is really, really great. I know the few times that I have been able to cast this, it's just been a pain for my opponents, and it's definitely turned around some games for me. Dark Salvation, I pay X. I'm able to create X zombies, and then I give a creature -1/-1 for each zombie I control. And then Curse of Disturbance, I enchant a player, and whenever they're attacked by anybody, the attacker makes a 2/2 zombie, and I also make a 2/2 zombie. So if somebody's on the, somebody besides me on the board is doing really well, then I just slap this on them, incentivizes my other opponents to attack them rather than me, and we all get value out of it except for the person who's being attacked. Next we've got some, we'll do Recursion. So for Recursion, Raise Dead, 1-drop, I return a creature card from graveyard to hand. Pretty alright. Victimize, I choose 2 creature cards from graveyard, sack a creature, and I return both of the chosen cards to the battlefield. So this is really good because, I have so many tokens out, ideally, that it really doesn't matter if I sack a 2/2 and get, one of the other, creatures out, like the Demon of Loathing or something. Say they were milled in there, or I played them and they got removed immediately. This is just really great to have. I get them out basically for free, so it's pretty sweet. Overlord of the Baelmerk, excuse me. Whenever he attacks or enters, I mill 4, and then I may return a non-avatar creature or planeswalker from graveyard to hand. Really great because it's not exclusive to the cards I milled. I'll just mill 4, and then out of everything in my graveyard at that point, I'm able to return, especially with one of the other important pieces in here, which is a planeswalker. Really good planeswalker for this deck, actually. This is really great to have just in case she gets removed and I need to bring her back. But yeah, great Recursion. And then Altar of Ball allows me to exile a creature I control and return creature from graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only a sorcery, so it's only on my turn. However, since I have a bunch of tokens out, I don't care if they're being exiled because I can just bring something back from graveyard. Yeah, just really, really great stuff overall. Next we got important pieces. Now, like I mentioned, this little planeswalker right here, really, really great for the deck. But we've got Ophiomancer at the beginning of each upkeep. If I don't control a snake, then I make a 1/1 black snake with Death Touch. Just great. I usually get this out pretty early game if I'm lucky. Usually if I have it in starting hand, I'll keep because it's just a great card and it guarantees me Death Touchers, so nobody's going to want to swing at me early game, which is super, super helpful. Gothmog, which gives all of my tokens Death Touch, just a great thing to have. And then Death Baron and Death Priest of Merkle both give Anthem, and also Death Priest of Merkle, if a creature died this turn, I can create black skeletons on my end step, which is great. If I have a bunch of zombies out and some of them die, or I kill an opponent's creature, then I'm able to get some more value out of that. And then finally, probably one of the most important parts of the deck is Liliana, Dreadhorde General. Whenever a creature I control dies, I draw a card. Really great. There's not a whole bunch of drawing in this deck especially, so just having this out for getting through my library quicker. And then she creates zombies. I can force players to sacrifice, and then I can also just pretty much completely board wipe. I make my opponents choose 1 permanent of each type, and then they have to sacrifice all but the chosen ones. So yeah, she's really, really mean, but so is the rest of this deck, so kind of checks out. And then finally, we've got some board wipes and some finishers. So for the board wipes, you've got Plague Wind. I destroy all creatures that I don't control, and they can't be regened. This card is surprisingly cheap, I think, which I don't know if it's, obviously, I think a lot of people don't like it because it's 9 mana, but especially for late game in Commander, which casual, I don't play competitive at all. I play this, and it's pretty much game over from there because I can just slap this out, and then I usually have enough zombies, and it clears the board that I can pretty much plow through everything else. Blasphemous Edict, I can pay 1 mana instead if there's 13 or more creatures on the battlefield, and each player sacrifices 13 creatures. Usually gets, you know, my opponents down a bunch, and if I have enough zombies out, or if I just played the card, I forget what it is, but the card that creates 13 zombies for me, excuse me, then I can just sack those zombies immediately, and it doesn't really matter to me, but my opponents basically get their boards cleared. And then Decree of Pain, I destroy all creatures, and I draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. I can also choose to cycle it, but usually I want to cast it for its regular cost and get some draw out of it. But, yep, there's some more removal in the form of board wipe. And then finally, we've got some finishers. Demon of Deathgate, I can pay 6 life and sack 3 creatures instead of paying the mana cost. And it's just flying, trample, 9/9, just scary guy in the air. And then Consuming Corruption deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and I gain X life, where X the number of swamps I control. I forgot this was creature or planeswalker and not any target, so not really quite a finisher, but gain really good gain life, besides Kalitas and Crick. But yeah, that's basically about it. I have a lot of fun playing this deck. He used to be not super great, but I think he's to the point now where I can play him reliably, and he's scary enough, and I'm usually the threat. most games I play him, but it's pretty fun. Anyways, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. You can find my decks on Architect, and yeah, have a good one.